So Shyam asks, how would you set up a backward sled drag to promote an inhalation strategy in terms of position of the torso and arms? And then he goes on to ask, and what would you do if you need more compression? Sled dragging provides us a number of opportunities to be creative, but I would also refer you to the rope pulling video that I did because the strategies are going to be very similar. So if I'm just using the belt for the backward sled drag, one of the key elements that I want to make sure that I'm addressing is my hip and knee position. I want to make sure that I can emphasize a posterior expansion through the pelvis. Now right away, because I have a load against it, I'm going to actively compress the top of my pelvis backwards into the belt. So I'm going to get a posterior orientation of the pelvis to a degree. The amount of hip bend that I want is going to be somewhere between 0 and 60 degrees to keep me in my inhalation range that allows the pelvis the freedom of movement to expand as I breathe in. So this is also an influence of the amount of weight that I'm using as I'm doing the sled drag. If I'm looking for a compressive strategy, all I need to do is increase the load on the sled. That's going to force me to sit down, and now I'm going to be using a much more effective compressive strategy. One of the other advantages of just using the belt is it leaves my upper extremities free to move. So I can actually drive upper extremity positions that will actually enhance my ability to expand or compress depending on the strategy that I'm seeking. Especially in the cases of rotational athletes, this may be one of the strategies that I'll utilize because it does allow me to accomplish the turning motions that I need to carry over to their sport. If I utilize straps directly attached to the sled, I can actually fix the upper extremities. The advantage here is that I can actually teach the thorax to turn through the fixed extremity. Following the same guidelines that I had when I was just wearing the belt, I want to make sure that I'm maintaining somewhere between 0 to 60 degrees of hip flexion to make sure that the pelvis can stay in its inhaled position. If I'm going to use the straps that fix my upper extremities and emphasize the thorax turn, I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing my hip shift. This will assure that I'm getting expansive capabilities on the stepping side. This also promotes a yielding strategy through the upper thorax as I step backwards. This is especially helpful for athletes that need to turn or rotate. Again, if I want to increase the compressive strategy, all I need to do is increase the load. The increased load is going to force me to sit down deeper and create a compression in the dorsal rostral thorax and the posterior pelvis. When it comes to sled drags, you're only limited by your creativity and your understanding of the compressive and the expansive strategies.